Good morning. You'll have a video a little bit later today which discusses growing frustrations backstage within the WWE Women's Division ahead of SummerSlam. We will get to that, but we are going to start the day talking about, quite frankly, explosive interview with an independent name in Lufisto, who has really called out the AEW women's locker room based on her experiences when she was there for a taping.
Yes, so last week, indie wrestling star Lufisto tweeted, "It's cute how people blame booking for a bad women's division. Talent with too much power, talent denigrating each other, talent trash-talking potential employees so that they never get in as soon as they walk in. It starts here, the one you called effing French-Canadian a-hole."
So Sean Ross Sapp saw this tweet. It was off the back of more issues and critique of the women's division booking that tweet was initially sent. But Sean Ross Sapp spoke to Lufisto on behalf of Fightful to expand on these comments, and expand she did. Lufisto tells the story of how she got onto an AEW taping and where it went from there. She said she bumped into QT Marshall at WrestleCon in Dallas last year and was invited to Dynamite in Boston for a tryout as a coach. She was later told to bring her gear for a match on Dark. Now, it may have been a tryout, it may have simply been a conversation about becoming a coach. Either way, she was assured some time with Tony Khan to discuss that opportunity, but also told to bring her ring gear for a match. Lufisto describes the weird vibe that she got from some of the women in the locker room upon her arrival, where she explained that she was there for a tryout and to talk about being a coach. Ruby Soho, the Bunny, and Tony Storm were among those who gave a bit of a frostier reception to her, but she does mention she was very warmly greeted by Mercedes Martinez and a few of the younger members of the women's roster who were very happy to see her and asking if she'd be sticking around.
Lufisto describes mingling around the backstage area, speaking to Christian, Mark Henry, and Dustin Rhodes for a bit, being told by QT Marshall that Tony Khan, who Lufisto actually believed she was there to talk to, was busy, encouraging her to continue mingling.
So the match that she was booked for on AEW Dark, Lufisto, was herself, Amy Sakura, and the Bunny to face Ruby Soho, Anna Jay, and Sky Blue. Now, in terms of how the match was put together, it was very much led backstage by Ruby Soho, according to Lufisto, who mapped out the spots that we saw Lufisto do in that match. She started the match, she absorbed some shots from some of the opponents, she gave a clothesline to Ruby Soho and tagged out immediately. From there, she gets punched while she's on the apron by Anna Jay, and she then gets into the ring, goes to do a move, but gets it countered into Ruby's finish and takes the pin.
Yes.
All in all, less than a minute in the ring for Lufisto during that match. But after the match, Dustin Rhodes, who she was speaking to earlier on in the day about family and her daughter and his daughter and stuff like that, a very polite conversation. Dustin Rhodes chastises Lufisto for, quote, making all the girls that are signed look terrible, despite only being in the ring, as we say, for less than a minute. When asked for feedback, Dustin said, "You should have bumped for the moves that you took," which she kind of did as much as she could.
There was really not that much to bump for in the match because she wasn't really in it for that long anyway. And I think she did, yeah, with what she was given, at least anyway.
And when punched on the apron, she should have fallen to the floor, apparently. And as Lufisto said to multiple people, including Billy Gunn, who was nearby looking quite angry about the whole thing, Lufisto did what she was told to do, what she was instructed to do in that match by assigned talent.
Yes, Lufisto also described another encounter with Dustin Rhodes and Ruby Soho in which they're talking about someone and they stop then when she enters the room. Ruby suddenly leaves and then Dustin exclaims, "So all French-Canadian people are effing a-holes," having a very different attitude and demeanour to their previous conversation.
Lufisto goes on to say that a few girls had spoken to her about matches that they'd had with Britt Baker, in which the match had changed midway through. And if the opponent had lost their way in the new match, the support for them would not have been there. Consequently, the match would have been bad and they'd never get called to be an extra again. This is what's coming from Lufisto during this interview with Fightful. Lufisto says whilst they didn't want to do that with her, she does believe they wanted her to look bad in front of agents. Lufisto asked multiple people for feedback, and they all said, oh, we'll make time to watch the match. LuFisto went on to speak to a longtime friend who was competing that night about their personal experience with this, to which they said, and I quote, "They don't really care. They don't really watch our matches here. I've been doing Chris Benoit moves for the past month, and no one even knows. They don't care."
LuFisto's meeting with Tony apparently never happens, as he was apparently too busy. She says she spoke to QT Marshall via email a few days later, who didn't understand why she got the negative reaction she did, nor why the match was planned the way it was. She says there was an issue getting paid that took a while to sort out, and then after that, she was ghosted by QT Marshall and the rest of her AEW contacts.
She actually said she reached out again to them when the Canada tour came around, and all these people that previously were very conversational with her just left on red, essentially. LuFisto concludes talking about this by saying, "I am telling my story and my experience for people to understand that the reason why this division doesn't work is the gatekeeping of it. It's not going to get any better as long as somebody doesn't stand up. Everybody is afraid to talk. Everybody doesn't want to say what I am saying right now. I'm even struggling right now, but someone has to say it. Unfortunately, it's the 43-year-old that's doing it because everybody is so afraid to lose their freaking jobs that they don't say anything and they accept things that should not be. You have 60 women who want to be on top and want to give you good matches. You are not using them because you have that core that wants to stay there and will do everything they want to stay there."
Now, despite everything that had happened as well, LuFisto was keen to speak to Dustin again, and she said, "So many times I've wanted to reach out to him. He would write things, be kind to people. You know what they're going. You don't know what they're going through. You don't know how many times I've wanted to reply. I really wish you would have showed me the same kindness. Everything you're saying, I believe too. I'm not perfect. I did things wrong in my past, and I will do again. We all make mistakes." Now, after sort of all this, Dustin Rhodes tweeted after the interview went out, he said, "Hey LuFisto, read your story, and sometimes as a coach, I have to be very honest and won't ever tell you a lie about how good or bad it was. Sometimes hard love comes out and wouldn't have it any other way. I hope you find what you're looking for. Hashtag keep stepping."
Now, LuFisto tweeted a short while ago after the interview went out, saying, "I had a 1-hour phone call with a current AEW talent. The women who actually addressed the problems I did today were the ones that were sent home by Tony Khan. There was a meeting to shoot on Thunder Rosa that Khan attended. Before leaving, he reminded them that their segments were the lowest. When some girls arranged a meeting to talk about Britt Baker's crew, one of them ran to Britt to let her know. The girls had wanted to address the problem when they were the ones that were punished. Things did not get better, they got worse. The legitimate wrestlers believe that Tony Khan doesn't give a damn about women's wrestling and feel like they're going back to the Divas era. Tell me I'm irrelevant and that I'm doing this for attention. Call me a liar. You keep on closing your eyes and supporting human beings with SH1TTY behavior. With the messages of support and especially this phone call I received from an AEW employee, this nobody did the right thing." Fightful have reached out to AEW for comment on this, and they have, at time of recording, have received no comment. I would imagine that this would be something that they would be keen to address in some way, shape or form.
I would absolutely think so at some point. There's a lot of information here, a lot of stuff has been said, and I think we will hopefully get their sort of side of the story too.
And because this is from LuFisto's interview with Fightful.
Yes.
So we've basically repeated what was said there. I certainly think that with everything going on in women's wrestling at the moment, and as we said, we will address some frustrations backstage at WWE's women's division in our next news video today, but certainly a lot from there that needs to be addressed. And we'll have more wrestling news throughout the day at Cultaholic.com.